All right, everybody, welcome in. This is going to be another Stormgate cast, and I'm Algorithmore. And this is going to be a cast featuring one of my favorite Infernal players. This is Elf. And she's been streaming again lately, so if you like her play like I do, go check her out on Twitch. But her opponent in this series of matches, this is going to be Dopamine. Playing the Vanguard again. So we got a Vanguard versus Infernal here. One of my favorite matchups for sure. And we'll see how it's going. Again, we're on 0.4.2. These were played out within, I'd say, 24 hours of the patch, I believe. I remember watching these on her stream, although I don't remember exactly which games I pulled. She did end up playing Dopamine a couple of different times. And so we see her with 4 gaunts, and this is not too surprising there with that nice scout move to take out the effigy. But the curses have already been applied to all these shadow masses and to the scout himself. Scout staying alive, already eating that cabbage. But Elf is a fan of the gaunts, and she is showing how she uses them here on Ruination. She can go Vision next, yes. You need that effigy to get the curse going, which gives you those phantoms. And here comes some lancers. Ooh, they may have sniped that. They do have to run away now. They aren't going to be able to fight this. Going for those phantoms. I don't know. Phantoms, remember, are free units, but they do disappear after, I think, 20 seconds now. I think they got a nerf, or maybe that was a hit point nerf. They got a nerf somehow. He died before I could click him. Here's that scout again. Getting some glaives thrown his way. I think that's what these new weapons are called for the... They're apparently bone axes, according to the tooltips. I don't think they're still bone axes. But sometimes the tooltips have certainly lagged behind changes from time to time. Of course, you want the tooltips to be accurate, but when you're making lots of changes to the base game like we've been doing recently, you can expect a little lag there. Scout again trying to be annoying and take the vision tower, but Elf not letting Dopamine get any traction here in the middle of the map, and boom, down goes in an effigy. You want to fight? Go ahead. Now, not only is that going to allow for the curse to be applied, but it does also allow the regen. And also if there's charge on these brutes. Do we got charge yet? It's still Gaunt I clicked. There's a brute. No charge yet. Infernal Fury is the upgrade. Cool name. And Fiend Explosion, that's the second upgrade. I like the change of name on that. Dodging a Nightfall Infestation, except for these 2 poor Lancers who get caught behind. Still not seeing any Infernal Fury. But a ton of little Exos popped out here, and this has been what Dopamine's been trying here in these games, I think, is trying to make the Exos work. Exos have ever been a popular unit for the Vanguard. They've been nerfed many times, somewhat of a meme almost. But they've also been buffed here and there, as some nerfs have been a little too much, and so they're trying to find that sweet spot for them where they're not so dominating as they have been in some builds, but are also not useless, so that they're still viable. And Dopamine at least is trying out in this patch to see if he can make them into that viable unit comp. And here he is, engaged. There we have that Infernal Fury, and we see it has been nerfed, but it is still quite punishing. A shield's up on the Lancer to keep it alive, but now it's right behind enemy lines. As soon as that shield's up is done, it's going down. I'm sure it does. The Exo's still trying to get some kills here. Lancer showing up as well. Effigy going down, and again, nice micro from Dopamine to keep those effigies away to just get that advantage against the Infernal opponent. Elf, however, does have some good macro here, and she has churned out a lot of units and was able to push Dopamine back. So Dopamine's regrouping. Staying on the bio. We have upgrades, solars, but nothing going on that upgrade right now. More racks. And there we go. Now we get an upgrade for Medtech Adept. That will give Nano Swarm. I don't see any Medtechs out yet. And are there any mech bays going down? I have seen Dopamine at mech bays around this point. Get some Vanguard, or sorry, Vulcans. Of course they're Vanguards. But a little engagement here. This time Elf's able to keep the effigy up as she pushes these units through the difficult terrain there. And there's our first Medtechs out. Nice. One brave Exo is like, I got that effigy. I love the effigy maintenance that Dopamine has done. Sending a few Lancers over here. I like it. Gonna take out those Fiends. Capture or maintain the ownership of that speed camp. While Elf's over here trying to regain these center camps. Where are those Lancers going? Oh. They're going for a backdoor run by. Sad sound of a phantom dying. More reinforcements showing up. And how are those Lancers? They're getting in the back there. And in they run. Right on by. Oh, wait. There's a Shroud Stone there. But they're going for imps. Can they get some imp kills? Looks like they got a couple. And some nice micro to try and get on top of them. But they stopped to fight some Fell Hogs. That's not usually good. A few more imps going down. A Brute shows up. How's the Brute going to go? Manifest Shroud Stone. Going into the main. Gaunt's here now too. We also have a Lancer up here trying to do the same business. Oops, wrong one. Here we are in the main. Trying to get some imp kills. Ooh, one goes down. Another one down. But Lancer's going down as well. So a few imps go down, but probably not worth the cost of the Lancers. The army got pulled back up here, and now that I notice, Elf has gone up to 5 bases here. And she's definitely trying to macro her way into a victory. Interesting creeping strategy to aggro them, but then make them fight the Fell Hogs in the farms. I like it. And here comes Dopamine with a push. It might be ill-advised as this army for Elf looks really good. The supplies are identical, so I'm not certain why Elf's army looks like twice as big. Can't be all just unit size. And these creeps unfortunately want to get in on this too. And they start swinging, and Elf gets distracted and has to fight them. One of the creeps gets pulled off by Dopamine, but then comes running back with his leash. And Dopamine wants to take him out, but no. Also doesn't want to engage Elf. Elf does come in with her charge. And look at these Exos on the front line using their survival protocol. Dopamine trying to split his units up a little bit to allow the Lancers to do some of the tanking there, but now it's pulled back as the Lancers are gone, and we're seeing this front line just push into the Exos. We hear a few of those Exos going down, and they're going to pull back through the difficult terrain there, trying to minimize the surface area on them, and they're doing a pretty good job of that. A few Lancers have shown up at the front. And that means Elf has to pull back. Oh, wait a second. Where did these units come from? A little bit of a flank going on here. Dopamine doing his best to try and punish this army. He might be able to get it. He is actually going to tear through all the rest of those units. And where did those magical units come from? I was talking about how his army looked less. And maybe that's because there was also another half of that army just hanging out. We're ready for that flank, and that was a great maneuver. I really like when players have the cognizant to split their army up like that, because it can really turn the tide. And look at this. Dopamine's plan is we are going straight through. Hope the greater Jerboa doesn't sound the alarm. Oh, wait a second. There are some brutes guarding the way over here. Very smart for Elf. She knows this is going to be coming. We can see her army on the mini-map coming back to try and deal with this. Brutes come out. She does not immediately engage them, though. She instead lets these units start going to town on the army. And look, the dragon pops out. Uh-oh, Dopamine's thinking this was not the right idea. Is there a backdoor out from the back door? Because I am trapped. I've got the Nightfall Infestation. I've got the dragon breathing down upon me. There's curse on every single unit here. And so many of these units are going down. We see phantoms spawning as they go down to that curse damage. A couple more go down here. And the phantom sit in the back here trying to catch this one lancer. And what's this Dopamine deciding? Fine. I'm coming back. I'm going to do it again. Oh, and this is why, because there is this another prong up here. Wow, okay. The whole army had to get pulled up here. As, look at this. There's all these Gaunts and Brutes up here trying to clean this up. But now Dopamine, well, okay, wait a second. Elf has units down here as well. And I think she's responding pretty good to this two-pronged attack. And Dopamine does have to pull back. So I really like the idea behind this. But it's looking like this has not worked out for Dopamine, as Elf is now in Dopamine's base. She uses that Shroud Fall to bring Shroud on the entire map. That just means her units are buffed pretty much everywhere they go. And that means for 2-prong, 3-prong, 6-prong, it doesn't matter. All her units are standing on Shroud. And she is just ripping up this base of Dopamine. Dopamine's plan is another... Ooh, I thought this was another army, but these are all servos. So I don't think that's going to work out. I think his plan is to maybe just hold here, but nope, this is going to be GG. Welcome back in. This is going to be a second game between these two. And once again, playing in the blue, this is going to be Elf. Queen of Inferno. And her opponent, rocking the Vanguard faction. In the red, this is Dopamine. And I hope I'm getting you some dopamine here today with these casts. Hopefully we're going to have another fun game. I did enjoy that last game with some back and forth, with some good pressure from Dopamine, and then finally with the end game from the dragon. As the dragon often does, brings the end. And Dopamine opening with a command post here, while Elf's got her 2 production Enclave first. Not too surprised about that. Elf loves her Gaunts. And she's got a farm down already. That means there's Shroud for this Shrine, and the Shrine's going to produce that much quicker. Zippity-doo-dah. We'll see where she goes. So she's got 1 imp here on the Therium. Now, what I know is that's enough to get enough Therium for those Gaunts. Gaunt production out of 1 Conclave. Probably more than that, since there has been a little bit of buff to that Therium a couple patches ago. Therium gathering rate. The imps just, they were working out in the gym. They're buff now. They can carry just a little extra Therium with them. Oh no, Dopamine. Oh, pretty good to get that scout out of there. I thought almost got a surround there, it looked like. But heading right into the base to be like, you got a cabbage up here? Hey, there's a greater Jerboa too. And then right on out again. This is like, I'm doing my scouting and I'm eating cabbage on the way. There's not a cabbage down here, is there? Oh, just checking for a base. Just checking for the old base. And Elf's like, no, I'm gonna go. I thought she was like maybe being aggressive, but no, of course she's going for the speed camp here. That makes sense. It is the next camp after that health camp that you would normally take. And it's also not clear to me if I don't think she's scouted here. Yeah, so you see she's sending some phantoms. She didn't actually know that that was the location, sending phantoms to all the bases. And she knows now she's chewing on servo paint. The other phantom doesn't even make it. Oh, I died. Just squirted the blood out. And this scout's been getting full vision of the base this whole time, just scooting right back and forth. Now sees that the third base is down. And Elf out on the map, meeting some Lancers. This looks like an army that she's gonna got the advantage there. Again, the supply looks very even, but what does that mean? Is there more Bobs? And Bobs don't exist anymore. Reminder, I'll go. We do have a lot here. That's like 30-ish Bobs. Imps. Not servos, whatever they're called. We got 9 here. We got 21, 26. Yeah, so there's definitely more servo supply out right there. Maybe about 5 or 10. But dopamine is up by 12 supply too. So that's a recent change. But that might mean that this little battle here is no longer necessarily in Elf's favor. I like how dopamine pulled her back off the shroud, and now she's pulling back onto the shroud. And he chases her away and gets the speed camp. A lot of her units very low right now. They're just chilling on the high ground. Part of that is this health camp was under dopamine's control, which means there's been no healing on these units. Now they're sitting in the health camp, they're sitting on shroud. That means a lot of healing out of them. Look how zippy that goes up. The scout has definitely been worth the cost in this game. And in the, before the recent patch, we might say, well, what was the cost? It was free. Well, they aren't free anymore. You don't get a free scout anymore. That was a scout that was created by dopamine for the purpose of scouting. And I think the playing with the free scout for so long created a lot of scout-based skill in Vanguard players that I think that's a good play. Given how dopamine has been using that very skillfully, it's definitely been worth it. Now this battle is critical, but dopamine's doing a great job of stutter stepping back and keeping those Lancers alive as well as the Exos. Meaning lots of extra damage is going down, and also the micro to get rid of those effigies while also pulling the Lancers to try and get on top of Gaunt's. Pretty good control, but nonetheless, dopamine does have to retreat. Elf's macro is just really good, and she's chasing him home already. Exos might get cut off, but no, with their quick draw hustle, they are speedy, plus they got the speedy legs from the camp. Elf's gonna deny that, get her own speedy legs. She's gonna zip forward. Boom. Bye-bye, Exo. Well, that was a low Exo. And here she comes running up the ramp. She's got her charge on deck. Oh, she's going in for a little bit of a surround there. And the Exos wisely pulled back. Dopamine doing his best to hold here. She's got a couple brutes on the low ground in the production. Nightfall infestation going down on all these units. A couple servos pulled the fight. Exos still in the back line getting that DPS down. More servos being pulled. And this could be it for dopamine. Actually, the servos have won the day. I forgot. Servos are just Bobs. And Bobs are invincible. So, wow. I didn't see an overcharge go off there. They don't look like they were overcharged, so I think those are just normal Bobs. But I'm counting that as a hold there for dopamine, as Elf is running away. Some of her rallied Gaunts might want to get that memo. She is running away. And dopamine still on his bio. This has been the play of this patch, at least for dopamine, is the bio. But we do see the nanoswarm. And I think one thing that would be valuable for dopamine is to get the medtechs just a little bit earlier. 1 or 2 even, just in your army. They can add value and efficiency to keeping those units alive. There we are with our first medtech out. Just gonna chill in the back, casting those healing rays down. Whereas Elf's still got control of the middle of the map. She's still on tier 1. It seems like tier 1 is the way to go. Although she's got her Twilight Spire, she's up to Elder Shrine. Does that mean she's got Fiend Explosion? Not quite yet, but Fiend Explosion is hopefully going to be on the way, because that's one of my favorite upgrades, just because of its name. But also it makes a bunch of Fiends, which is cool. We see that Infernal Fury kicking in as a bunch of stuns go down, and Dopamine is gonna retreat. Their supplies, yet again, are very equal. Elf's going for this camp here in the middle, keeping that map control with the vision. Whereas Dopamine's going for this Luminite camp here. And more reinforcements showing up. Re-dipping into the speed camp to get those legs. Oh, Elf with a huge setup for a concave and flank. But Dopamine kind of seeing that coming, pulled back and didn't take a lot of casualties there. Now Elf's all balled up. Lots of brutes here. And the brutes are good, but if there's too many of them, they start bulking up in the back. We see a lot of those brutes are not doing anything. Whereas it's more exos from Dopamine. Dopamine has to pull back into the woods. As those brutes are starting to get a concave around these units, the exos are doing a pretty good job. Are they going to be able to stay alive here? These medtechs once again doing an important job. Shroudfall going down for Elf. She's pushing Dopamine right up into the base. Here we're in the production. Units are being split into two groups here, and Dopamine's getting a better of the ones on the right, but the ones on the left are into the servo line. They are trying to get some damage done. Wow, very nice from Dopamine so far to keep the hold. The workers are going down though, and the dragon has shown up. Exo's doing their best to hold, but that is going to be GG from Dopamine. Alright, we're back in our third and final game in this series, and once again, this is going to be in the blue, playing Infernal. This is Elf. And playing the red as the Vanguard, this is Dopamine. And they're back on Lost Hope. But this is cross-spawn now, so a little bit different. That last game had what is often considered the favorable spawns for Dopamine because he was by the speed camp. But it was Elf who took the victory. And this is now cross-spawn, which usually is considered fair. Meaning there's no one favored in this. And now it's just, you know, how do they play the map? How do they play their factions? There might be a little imbalance in the factions. In 0.4.2, I think they've made the right choices to pull back the Infernal's power level. But talking to some of my other fellow friends and players out there, that some folks feel like Infernal still probably has the advantage. Maybe a little bit imbalanced in that regard, but not as bad as it was before, meaning that the other factions have a chance, whereas in 0.4.1 it just kind of felt overpowering and just definitely to the level of not being fun and not having a lot of options. Whereas in this patch, yes, it might still seem like some builds are too strong, but there are ways to defeat them, which sounds good to me. I mean, we are still in early access. It's hard, you know. Has StarCraft ever been balanced? I don't know. Balance is just definitely a challenge in RTS games. And part of that reason is because balance is relative to meta. And the metas will change, and as metas change, it changes balance. And sometimes something might be very imbalanced only because of the meta. Because the opponents haven't figured out how to counter it. That's not always the case, and I don't want to use that as an excuse to dismiss, actual legitimate balance issues. But that's part of the argument behind what, some folks will say, well, let the meta settle before you patch it, so that you're not making knee-jerk changes. Nice little cat and mouse with this scout, a little dog and brute perhaps. And once again, this is the Dopamine builds the scout at the beginning. Nice. For exactly this kind of annoying play, while of course giving scouting ability. But it's just a speedy unit that can come and capture camps and keep the opponent on their toes. As we see here, Elf is kind of having to chase this annoying little fly around. And scouts being as fast as they are can do this. Yeah, so Dopamine's like, I'm just going to run away and then run back. Because it's not valuable for Elf to stand there. And he did actually see her move into the center with his vision tower, so we see this is quite valuable. Now we see, and look, as Elf tries to go in and take Dopamine's camp, we have Dopamine back in the middle. So I like this little cat and mouse game that they're playing right now. Sometimes when we see players, fighting over camps in this way, it's not as interesting, but this one's actually pretty clever. And look, the scout is back taking the health camp, and again, Elf is running back to try and deal with it. And that's Dopamine's cue saying, fine, I'm gonna go get the speed camp again. And Elf, this is definitely Dopamine playing a nice strategic game around these camps. This is a good game. I'm glad I pulled this one out of the pool, and shout out Elf for having her public replays, because this is a good one. I like this play. This is not your standard kind of immediate engagement, although here we're getting an engagement. The brutes with their charge getting on top of those lancers, trying to get some good kills. But again, I love how Dopamine has used the trees on this map Lost Hope in both of these games to keep his bio alive against the brutes. Before, the brutes weren't able to even get in there. Now the brutes can get in there, but it still minimizes the surface area because the trees take up so much of the space around a unit. Where are those medtechs, Dopamine? Now, I am not a Vanguard player, nor am I a good player. So me complaining about Dopamine's strategy is kind of dumb. He knows what he's doing, but my heart says I think there should be some earlier medtechs. Okay, so we got Elf coming in for kind of like a flanking maneuver. At least she's coming in directly for the base. She maybe doesn't know. Oh, now she knows. Her units do find these units in the center of the map. And this is a pretty good engage for Elf because she's in between Dopamine and Dopamine's base. Although the Lancers on the left, or on the right, sorry, have formed into this concave that actually kind of ripped apart her own concave, and she's had to run back. Gaunt's trying to retreat to some more brutes. Brutes doing their best to fight off the Lancer front line, but the Exos are also getting a lot of DPS going on there. I like how Dopamine grabs the Exos, pulls them back to let the Lancers get into the front. And again, some nice stutter step, and it's Elf who chooses to pull back. And that means Dopamine has the time here to push forward and take out some of these effigies, ruining her shroud spread, but also eliminating some of her vision. And Dopamine not going to waste any time. Looks like going for this camp. We also see Rallying imps over here for Elf. Yes, indeed, this camp goes down. And once again, that camp turning red is a signal to Elf where the army is. And I wonder if Frost Giant might want to experiment with not having the camps advertised when they get caught. I think that could be an interesting strategic change to the game. That would mean players would need to have more scouts and fiends out on the map trying to capture. See, is that camp been captured or not? Also means more scouting at the beginning of the map. You can't just sit in your base and wait until the first camp gets captured, say on Lost Hope here, to figure out where your opponent is. Now what's going on here? Oh, a little servo showed up. Doing a little lumber servoing. Oh, and a Vulcan showed up and said, let me show you how it's done, little buddy. You might be a little robot. I'm a big old robot. We just smashed them down. The little robot's over here building a sentry post, but also clogging that choke just a little bit. And now we have some pretty good two-pronged attack in here from Elf. Her units are, she pulls the Bruce back a little bit, so they're not just being chewed through by the bio here. Letting those Hellborn also get some shots down as they focus fire down a Vulcan. Will they get another Vulcan? It's not clear because the Exos are cleaning up all the ground force here. And that's going to be GG from Elf in this third game.